everyone, it's Aisha White, and I am here with two very lovely, very talented women today who wanted to speak to me about the topic of how to talk to survivors of sexual assault. Today I have Ashley Frazier joining me, who is a licensed professional counselor, and I have Amber Worthy with me today, who is a journalist based out of Greenville and an advocate. Thank you all so much for joining me today. You want to say hello, Ashley or Amber?
Sure, thank you for having me.
Yes, hello everyone, and thank you so much, Aisha, for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. I thought that this was a really, really important topic that I can relate to, and I think a lot of people, women and men, can relate to this type of topic. And so I wanted to get people in who had different knowledge base and give you all an opportunity to speak to this topic. So I really appreciate you being here. I want to get started with the first question. Amber, if you could just tell us about your journey to advocacy and tell us a little bit about what kind of advocacy that you're involved with.
Well, just thank you for having me. So the journey has been a rocky one because it took me healing from the trauma of being sexually assaulted in college and now wanting to help others who just might not know where to start. I know I didn't know where to start. I didn't even tell my mom initially, because I didn't even know, how do you say that to someone who loves you and probably wishes they could have protected you. So I got here by, of course, eventually telling my mom and telling my best friend and getting to a place where I can talk about it without falling apart and help others realize that you need people like me to let you fall apart so that you can have that safe space. And then once you fall apart enough, there are times when it's gonna make you fall apart, but once you fall apart enough, you get that strength to start this journey. So I just want to support survivors in their self-care journey, because that was, I guess, one of the most important things that I had to do was grasp what self-care was for me and practice that.
Thank you, Amber. Yeah, we're going to get to that a little bit later on into it too, just kind of like what self-care looks like. So I appreciate that. Ashley, did you want to speak about what connects you to this topic? You are a licensed professional counselor, and I know right now your specialty is with addiction, but you have a broad range of knowledge and experience. If you want to speak to that.
Yeah. I first want to say I just appreciate Amber for introducing herself and sharing a little part of her story. We need more people like you, so I just appreciated you for sharing that. My specialty is addiction, but I provide a range of different services into mental health field. Currently, I do group therapy and individual therapy for substance abuse, but I see a variety of clients for individual therapy for different mental health issues such as addiction, anxiety, depression, PTSD, just to name a few. Currently, I see several clients who have been sexually assaulted. I used to work with teenagers and children who are sexual assault survivors. In 2008 to 2010, I served as a victims advocate at the Sexual Assault Support Center, where I used to accompany survivors to the hospital. I used to assist with training law enforcement how to respond to the call from a survivor. And I used to assist with training new victims advocate on how to take calls at the 24-hour hotline. And then we would accompany survivors to court if the case went to court. So that's how I first got involved with wanting to be a victims advocate, and just how the topic just really touched my heart, and it's always been a passion of mine.
Yeah. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of things, especially in training different people about this type of topic, because it's so delicate.
Very much.
So Ashley, I'm thinking about, in terms of survivors, survivors trying to cope with their internal thoughts and feelings and figure that out. And they're also trying to maneuver around the feelings and the feedback from their loved ones, whether it's family, friends, whoever may be aware of their situation. Do you have any words as to how a survivor can manage those different relationships?
So the first thing I would say is when you're trying to manage your own feelings, right, and those different triggers, is to give yourself time. A lot of times you feel like it has to just come, you just have to get back to normal. It's just to give yourself time, speak to yourself with just compassion and kindness. And then next, when it comes to family and friends, being able to set boundaries, telling them what support looks like, because support looks like something different to all of us. So being able to communicate what you need from them, whether that's them to call you more, text you more, verbalize that to them. Whether you need them to respect your space when you want to be alone, say that to them. They love you, so they're going to be able to receive that. Whether, if you stay with them and you need them to knock before they come in, whereas before they just open the door, tell them that. If you need them to ask before they touch you and before they give you a hug, saying that. So it's just about being able to identify the different boundaries you need now and then communicating that to others.
That's great. And that's really important. I think those are little subtle things that don't occur to the family members or the loved ones, whoever they are. Things like touch, things like something as simple as knocking before they open a door. It's something that I think people can easily miss, because if you're not the one who encountered this trauma, then it's just a different perspective. So that's great. Thank you for that. I think those are practical things that people can take and actually use. So Amber, I'm curious, what were some of the things that you could have used as far as support from your loved ones after you had experienced trauma?
One would be someone who knew where I could have found free therapy, because the money aspect kept me from therapy. And then when I found free therapy, I'm like, dang, I really wish I knew someone early on who could have pointed me in that direction. So I just tell everybody where you can find free therapy, so that when they need it, when they encounter someone who needs it, they know where to point them. And just grace, because little things like Ashley said, like, don't come up from behind, because that don't startle me. Those little things can make the other person uncomfortable, because it's like, dang, I can't do that. Like, you're telling someone what they can't do, and some people don't like that. But just being mindful that I'm gonna probably learn a new trigger every day, in the beginning and then even now. So just be patient. Something that I used to like, I may hate now. So just those little things, and then just giving me grace and being kind when I share my experience, because we're going to get a lot of hate from a lot of different places. So being kind and accepting of me and the person I'm growing to be, that is definitely important and helpful.
Yes, for sure. I appreciate that, those different things that you pointed out. And I don't want to dive deep into the details of it, but it's something that I can relate to also. And even when you're saying, okay, triggers, and you find a new one every day, that's so true. And I'm trying to keep it high level, even this conversation, honestly, for anybody that's watching, so it doesn't go too deep into detail for anybody, but knowing that words, phrases, situations can be a trigger for somebody. So yes, really important to consider. So thank you, Amber. So Ashley, how can somebody support their loved one who is a survivor? I know for me, I got a lot of support from different people, but I think it's any type of trauma. If you lose a family member, people are like, let me know what I can do. And sometimes if you're in the middle of going through it, you don't know what to tell, how to instruct somebody to be there for you. So what are ways that somebody can support someone who has gone through trauma?
So I think the biggest thing is being able to listen to them, right? So just being that listening ear, asking what they need, sometimes we can often assume that we know what someone needs, and we can be wrong. So just being willing to listen and to ask, right? Um, when someone comes to talk to us, making sure that we're able to remain calm, right? And not appearing as outraged. Sometimes we can be outraged, we can be shocked at what we hear, so that our reaction can make a situation worse. So when we're thinking about providing support, is that making sure that we're calm and we're in a place where we can provide that support. Another thing is making sure that we're highlighting different strengths. After a sexual assault, right, a person can feel like they're not good enough. Lots of different negative thoughts can go through someone's mind. So being able to encourage them is something that's helpful. Being able to just check on them and show them unconditional love is all different ways to provide support.
That's great. And I really like the point that you made. I didn't even consider that, like your response to the story that's being told or the details that are being told. Because if it's somebody that you love and care about, you're gonna react a certain way. But keeping that in mind that, hey, that can have an effect on somebody too, that's a really great point. So Amber, my question for you is, are there any behaviors that you would caution somebody against, or certain things that people say? Would you caution somebody against saying or doing these things if they're talking to a survivor?
I know anger. A lot of my male family members were overly angry, and that anger can be triggering because we have some anger in us that comes out in different ways. But that overly angry behavior or response or reaction can be triggering, and treating us like we're fragile, like that. Like there's a fine line between caring and just I can't think of the word, but like sheltering us to a point where you think that I'm glass and that you have to promote that thought that they're strong, they made it, they're brave, uh, and that will strengthen them to the point that they can share, or they can make the decision that they're not going to tell anyone, or that they will go get the help they need, whether they are vocal about what happened to them or not. So promoting their strength, and making sure that they know that they have support when they need it, how they need it, and that you won't do anything on their behalf, and that this whole situation is in their control, because that control factor was important. You don't want to make them feel any more out of control than that situation made them feel.
Yes, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. The control aspect of it, because you feel like that has completely been taken away from you when you experience something like that. So that's huge. Thank you, Amber. So Ashley, how can a survivor take care of themselves?
So I think the biggest thing is going to be first developing that belief that they're worth it, right? It's important to know that, they deserve it. It's okay to take care of themselves, and it's okay to re-engage in activities that they used to do before, because it just contributes to that overall well-being. So some specific ways to do that is just going to be by making themselves a priority, right? And then also just inviting those family and friends in to support them. Also being able to reduce stress, because it's stressful afterwards. Being able to reduce stress by using different types of relaxation techniques, and it looks different, right? So whether it's doing yoga, if that's your thing, walking, dance, exercise, whatever it's going to be, implementing prayer, meditation, different type of mindfulness activities, practicing good sleep hygiene because sleep is affected. So whether it's, using the bed just for sleep and not, we can get in the bed sometime and we can have our phone, we can be eating in the bed, all different stuff. So practicing overall good sleep hygiene, right? Using journaling and specific types of journaling. It can be a gratitude journaling. Sometimes after an attack like that, it can be hard to identify things that we're grateful. So starting simple with just identifying one thing that you're grateful for in that moment. And then you can, the next day or the next week, you can start identifying 2 things. And the days when it's really, really hard, go back and look at what you wrote the week before. And then just engaging in activities that bring you pleasure.
Those are all great. And that's great advice. Thank you, Ashley. And I think that's something that people can start applying right away. You can go find a journal. If you don't have a journal, just grabbing a piece of paper and start writing. That's something that's applicable. You can do that immediately, and walking outside or even changing up your sleep habits. So I really appreciate that. That's all great things and things I've been trying to work into my routine also. And so thank you. Amber, what does self-care look like for you?
It's that dedicated time where I am focused on what makes me happy in that moment. So if that is ice cream or watching my favorite shows or taking a good shower, I like things that smell good. So burning a candle or using a new lotion, makeup, just whatever can make me smile in that moment is what matters. And that's a self-care moment for me. Just being able to feel myself and feel happy. All of those things contribute to that. And journaling is one that normally makes me feel good too.
Something that is an overall theme that we've mentioned is therapy, and it's beneficial. And I know that's what's helping me get through. And I know that how useful it can be for so many people. But the point you were making, Amber, about the fact that it's a lot of people don't have access to it, cost can be a real limit to it, unless you're directed in the right places where you can access it. Or even if you have the funds, there's a stigma sometimes that's attached to therapy, and like you're crazy if you have to go see a therapist or go see counseling, and like moving past that and not feeling like that's a barrier and that you can actually get the help that you need. So I was wondering how therapy has been beneficial to you.
It's just having a person that you can work through your thoughts, like any thought that you've had or any behaviors that you are confused about. I know I realized like darkness doesn't, like, unless I'm going to sleep, it triggers me in different ways. Or shadows. If there were like stacks of boxes in my apartment that I didn't know why, I was just uncomfortable in every room of my apartment. And it was because those shadows were everywhere. And it was talking through those things to realize, okay, I can separate myself from those things or get rid of them. And it's just having someone who doesn't ask you questions that make you question yourself. They make you, they walk you through your thoughts and make every thought feel valid, and then help you through them. So it was just a person, because your family or friends can ask questions and be like, why did you do that? And your therapist just asks that same question, just in a way that's helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Ashley, as someone who is in the area, works in the area of mental health, I'd like to ask you how counseling addresses trauma.
Sure. So first, it's just designed to create a safe place and an outlet just for survivors. And this is all type of survivors who've experienced different types of trauma, right? To talk about the pain that they're experiencing and just to have a place to start processing it. sometimes we have experienced of trauma and we've never had that place to start processing it. So what we do is we suppress it and something else happens and we just put something else on top of it and something else on top of it. So it's just designed to have that safe place where you can start uncovering those layers. I like to think of it like an onion, right? And if you were really gonna peel an onion, literally peeling an onion, every time you peel an onion, most of us cry, right? Every time we peel back a layer, we start crying. But you're working through trying to get to the core root of that onion and the core of what's the core of us and what we're going through. So what you're doing through therapy is just a way to learn how to heal from the trauma. So if we compare each layer to a layer of trauma, like the onion, it's just a way to regain a piece of our life. So as we're peeling off a layer of the onion, we're regaining a piece of our life. And in relation to like a survivor, right? Every time we peel off the layer, it can often feel like something has been stolen to us. But as you peel off a layer, you're learning a new coping skill and a new way to cope with what happened to you. Sometimes we all cope and we'll develop an unhealthy coping mechanism, but therapy is designed to help you learn new ways to cope. So in reference to trauma-specific therapy, there's different types of therapy to address that. So there's TFCBT, right? And that's trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. There's also CBT, and that's cognitive behavioral therapy. And there's DBT, and it's dialectical behavioral therapy. And it's different types of therapy for different types of trauma, right? TFCBT is mostly used in reference to children. And it's a therapy that's used for a shorter amount of time. You typically use it for about 8 to 24 sessions. And with this type of therapy, it can be used for children alone, the parent alone to kind of help the child, or it can be used for the parent and the child. And with this type of therapy, you're trying to teach relaxation techniques. You're trying to help the child retell the story in their narrative, but you're trying to help them replace some of those traumatic events with new experiences and help them process those emotions and tell it in a way where they're able to identify the trauma, but be able to cope with it. So with cognitive behavioral therapy, our thoughts affect our behaviors and our actions, our thoughts and our feelings. So you're trying to identify different ways to change those thoughts that affect our feelings so our actions can be different. And then with DBT, it just assists with regulating our emotions. So it can help with learning new skills so it can change any unhealthy behaviors. So different types of therapy for different types of trauma. So all, again, is just essentially designed to create ways to learn new coping mechanisms.
That's great. I wasn't even aware of the different types and like what they entail. So thanks for even breaking that down, because I mean, yeah, like you said, it's children and adults and different people of all ages are touched by trauma in different ways. So it's important, and that makes sense that it would be a different approach for kids. So thank you for that. So my question to you, Ashley, before we wrap up, my final question to you would be, what are any final thoughts, words of encouragement you might have for the loved ones of a survivor? What can they take away from this?
So I would essentially say that the purpose and the role that you play is very essential. Your love and your support is needed, and it's appreciated more than you'll ever know, even if you never hear it. When a loved one, a friend of a friend, or just hearing about someone being sexually assaulted, it can affect us so deeply. So I say, in order to be the most effective and provide the best support to someone, you have to first make sure that you're okay and that your emotions are in check. So you have to take care of yourself. So before you can provide that support to others, you have to identify how you're feeling. So first, you have to practice that self-care before you can encourage somebody else to practice that self-care. You have to talk to someone first and then proceed with providing support to others.
That's great, because a lot of people can go into it unprepared and not know how to be receptive to someone. I think I was very blessed that the people around me were a great support system and somehow knew what to say in moments where I came to them for support. But that's a really great point. Someone seeking help themselves, and seeking help from someone like you that can give them instructions as to, okay, the things to say, the things to do. So hopefully this will be a tool also for people to go, hey, I need to refer to this before I decide to go talk to my loved one. So Amber, what words of encouragement would you have for survivors? What could they take away from this conversation?
Remember that after this tragedy has occurred in your life, that there is support. Sometimes you'll find the best support in strangers first, because they can help you. Like, we're strangers to them, but we can help you have that conversation, with getting the courage to say, hey, I was assaulted. That might take you a little while. But once you find that courage, get the help that you need, put yourself first, and make sure that you surround yourself with things that will support you, uplift you, and get you to the other side of it. Because if you don't put yourself first, it won't be a productive conversation if you were to tell someone. So just put yourself first and find the resources that will make you the most comfortable in coming forward, whether that is to your family, if that's to police, if that's whatever your next step will be. Find the support you need to take that first step.
Thank you. You both had wonderful, wonderful insight, and I really appreciate any input that you gave from your different points of view. I think it's really valuable. It's valuable for me hearing it, and I hope it's valuable for anybody that's watching this. I hope it's really useful to them. Is there anything else that you'd like to share? Anywhere people can find you, if it's your social media or anything like that? I'll be sure to link through to any social media or any areas where someone can contact you in the description area of the video. But if you have any final words, you're free to share those.
Ashley, you first.
I just wanted to say that I really appreciated this opportunity. Thank you again, Aisha, for inviting me. And Amber, it was so nice to meet you. I appreciated listening to you, and I look forward to any other opportunities that I get to hear from you and Aisha. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Same, Ashley. And you can find me on social media by Amber Worthy. And I'm open to talking to any survivor who is just looking for an outlet, because sometimes you just need that community to share these experiences, and you won't be looked at like, what? Because for the most part, every survivor I talk to, our experiences may be completely different, but our feelings have been the same. So find support. If you feel like you're at the end of your rope, don't give up, because there are people who can help you out of that. I found those, and I want to be that for others.
Yes, most definitely. Like you were saying, and we may be strangers if it's online, but yeah. It's a bond, it's a connection. We care about y'all. We care about y'all. We love y'all, and we want you here and safe and okay. So definitely. All right. Well, thank y'all for joining me. Thank you to everyone that's watching. If you like this video, make sure you tap the like button and subscribe to this channel for more information and more videos about communication overall. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, ladies, for being here with me today. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.